Have you ever heard of an old PC game called The Theater? Yeah, I didn't think so. Probably because many people say it doesn't even exist. You see, The Theater is an old computer game released around the same time as Doom. Today, if you ever find it, it's only available on a crappy bootleg CD ROMs, which more often than not don't even actually contain the game. The actual legit copies that they were released back in the day feature a blank cover with nothing but the sprite of what has been since named the Ticket Taker. He's simply a poorly drawn, pixelated Caucasian bald man with large lips, wearing a red vest over a white shirt and black pants. He is completely emotionless, though some say if you smash the disc, his face is shown as angry the next time you look at the cover. But this is just dismissed as an urban myth. What is peculiar about the theater, though, was that there was no developer name on the jewel case, nor game description on the back, simply a ticket taker on a white backdrop on both sides. The game was intentionally known for its inability to install correctly. The installation process immediately locks up the computer when the user reaches the licensing agreement. What's also strange about the licensing agreement for the theater is that whenever the developer studio is supposed to be named, the text is simply a blank line. Anyway, most people who have claimed to own one of the original CDs say that they figured out on how to install the game by simply rebooting their computers on the licensing agreement with the disc still inside. Then they are prompted to press I agree on startup. When they continue with the installation, the game then starts up without any introduction besides a main menu that is simply the sprite of a movie theater's exterior on an empty city street. The title fades in, and then the menu button says New Game, Load, Options. Selecting options immediately crashes the game to the desktop. Load is said not to function at all. Even if you have a saved game, nothing happens when you press it. Thus, New Game is the only working menu option. Once it is selected, you are in the first-person viewer. You are standing in an empty movie theater lobby, with the exceptions of the ticket takers standing in front of a dark hallway, which one can only assume leads to the theaters themselves. There's nothing to do but look into the poorly drawn, mostly illegible movie posters or approach the ticket taker. Once the player moves towards the ticket taker, a very low quality clip plays saying, "Thank you. Please enjoy the movie," along with the speech box saying the same thing. You then walk into the hallway and the screen fades to black and you're back in the empty lobby, and you do the exact same thing and again and again and again. While this may sound like a really horrible game, a number of peculiar things occur as you continue to play. The numbers of times that you have to continue into the hall after giving your ticket to the ticket taker before the strange events happen is unknown. Most state that it's completely random and could take anywhere from the first playthrough from the 400th. What happens through has deeply disturbed some players. The first occurrence is when the player fades back into the walking the hallway. This time, they will notice the ticket taker is completely absent. The player then, without any option, decides to walk into the dark hallway. The sound clip and the text box mentioned is previously still played in the absence of the ticket taker, but when the player walks into the hallways, the screen does not fade out. It goes pitch black as the player walks deeper into the hall, but the player's footsteps sound clip is still playing as they continue to push the button on their keyboard. Those claiming to have played the original game report to have felt extremely uncomfortable walking down the hallway, anticipating the hallways something horrible happening. Well, eventually the player is unable to move forwards. There is nothing for a few moments before a strange sprite is described as this ticket taker, but with a swirl of a face appears and stands before the player. The original players of the game say their bodies immediately froze up and their stomachs churned as they saw this sprite, which has been appropriately named the swirly head man. Nothing happens as a swirly head man stands before them. Then suddenly a piercing screech plays as the game glitches out. This lasts for a few minutes, with the screeching being continuous. Then the players are abruptly returned to the lobby with all the sounds and graphics as they should be. The game continues normally for the next couple of cycles of entering the hallways, with a couple of original players claiming the swirly head man would briefly appear and disappear in the corner of the screen as a brisk yelp sound effects plays. Then, at some point after meeting the swirly head man, the player sees the ticket taker pacing back and forth. Though there is no walking animations, the sprite's limbs are completely static, so he just hops up and down slightly as a substitute, with his eyes being wide and his mouth open to simulate a worried facial expression. Some players notice that the movie posters have been replaced with images of the swirly head man, which caused them to immediately turn their character's head away from the posters and approach the ticket taker. Then another different low-quality clip plays, but the speech box contains nothing but corrupted characters that cause whatever text that would have been in the box to completely illegible. Due to the extremely low quality of the sound, it is debated by players what exactly the ticket taker says at this point, though it is widely agreed that he says, "Never reach the other levels." Then the screen fades out once again and returns the player back to their starting point in the lobby, but the ticket taker is gone and the hallways is blocked by a large brick wall sprite. Touching the brick wall will immediately crash the game. That's all there is to it. No one knows what the other levels are or gaining access to them, nor it is unknown why the swirly head man causes such acute fear in those who have seen him in the game. All of the original copies of the theater have been either lost or destroyed, but the creepiest part is the fact that all the original players of the game claim to occasionally see a glimpse of the swirly head man coming out of the corner of their eyes.